Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, dear scholars, philosophers, intellectuals, great leaders. On this day, on the African Day, thank you so much. I hope one day Prof Zide will give us a lecture on Africa Day, the significance, the significance of Africa Day. I mean, why do we have this day and what it means to us? But we'll definitely plan that. So thank you so much for tuning in. I know that again there's load shedding tonight. I hope our members will not be severely affected, but with us, as you know, that number does not matter, quantity does not matter. What matters is quality, is the conversation that we have, which is always viable and it's always vibrant. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. But as I'm saying that, I anticipate and expect that people will be affected. There will be others who will join us late, maybe, and then others will be kicked out, others will be entering, will be in and out. But we'll continue the conversation as we always do, because we took a commitment that every Wednesdays we'll meet, no matter what the situation may be. My name is Mazwe Majola. As I see that most of the people who are in the call, they know me. I'm from the Worldwide Institute of Leadership and Development. We are about leadership development. We always say we eat leadership, we sleep leadership, we drink leadership. We are leaders in leadership. We are leadership. So you want to talk about us, you talk leadership. And really we've done that, or we are doing this because we have realized that leadership is everything and everything is leadership. When the country, when the business, when the organization, when the church, when the community, any institution, when it's doing correct, when it's doing right, it's because of leadership. And when it's not doing right, it's because of leadership again, or lack thereof. So leadership, it's everything, really. We always say in this platform that leadership, it's a journey. Leadership, it's not a destination. That is why we meet here every Wednesdays to sharpen one another. We are leaders, we are scholars, we are coming from different universities. We've got professors here, doctors, we've got executives, members of the media, politicians, you name them. People who attend this platform to encourage one another, to correct each other, to admonish each other as leaders. Are we still on course? Are we still leading? Are we still in charge? Because it's one thing to have a title, it's one thing to have a position, it's one thing to be in charge. So every Wednesday here we meet. We sharpen with each other as peers. I always tell our speakers that people who attend this platform are leaders themselves. Actually, the majority or 90% of people who attend our platform are our past speakers, people who always come back every Wednesdays to mingle with each other and to learn from each other. As we always say, that we are here to learn, to unlearn and to relearn, because that's what leaders do. Leaders, they have a humility mentality. They understand that you've got to learn all the time. You've got to empower yourself. You've got to develop yourself, because the minute you do that as a leader, you will become obsolete. So that's why we are here every Wednesdays. And thank you so much. to our members, to our regulars. I can see many of you. I was saying earlier on, I'm glad to see Professor Zide here last week. He was in bed with a flu. I had a flu for the last few weeks. I'm better today, and I see many of you, our members. And a special welcome to those who are joining us for the very first time. Please do make yourself at home, and would like you to participate, because definitely would like to hear, not only to hear from you, but would like to learn from you as well. These are just leaders, so there's no way to be diffident. There is no way to be shy. Would like to hear your input as well as we are discussing these important leadership principles. My sister, who is our speaker tonight, Miss Busi, I'll be introducing her now or shortly. She'll be, dealing with her leadership journey in the property industry, in leadership journey in the human settlements sector leadership, and her own personal leadership journey. So it's always wonderful. I mean, because obviously, as I'm saying, we would like to learn from each other as leaders. How have we failed? How have we risen? What have happened to us? Challenges. How have we made it? You know, how have we made it as leaders? That is very important. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Without any further ado, definitely I would like to introduce our speaker. So what's going to happen to those who are joining us for the first time, our speaker will address us, and they will engage each other, because it's a conversation after her address. We'll do that by raising your hand, and we will acknowledge you and give you the platform to express yourself, or you can do that by using the chat room. So let me introduce our speaker tonight. So I'm saying that powerful lady, powerful sister of mine. I'm so glad that eventually we got her. She's a very busy person, but thank God that she availed herself today. Very busy days, I'm saying that. There's so many activities today. It's an African day, but she availed herself. And thank you to all of you for attending as well. As I'm saying that there's so many things that are happening tonight as far as Africa Day is concerned. So Sis Busi, as she is affectionately known, is a practicing professional quantity surveyor registered with the South African Council of Quantity Surveying Profession. She is currently a partner or a managing partner at a private practice called Lakanya Quantity Surveyors, which has offices in various regions of the country. She's also a professional member of the Association of South African Quantity Surveyors. Her experience in the professional building industry spans for more than 20 years, from working in reputable professional practices in Port Elizabeth and East London as a student during her university days. I'm so glad we've got many colleagues who are coming from Nelson Mandela University who always attend this platform. So she's from there, and also as a candidate quantity surveyor until she obtained her professional status. She has also worked as a provincial project manager at the Department of Human Settlements on a secondment basis, where her involvement included the life cycle tracking of projects, management of cash flow between provincial government and municipalities, compliance with project agreements, alignment of projects with municipal IDPs, project audits, and quality management. This is where her knowledge and understanding of the human settlement space originates. She also had a stint in the academic space as well, first as a quantity surveying part-time lecturer and as an academic course moderator at the University of Port Elizabeth, now Nelson Mandela University, in the built environment faculty. She has also been involved in emerging contractor development, mentorship as a mentor to SMME contractors. She also served as a member and deputy chairperson of the advisory board to the quantity survey department at Nelson Mandela University for a 3-year term of office. She served for 2 terms as a council member, which is equivalent to a board member on the National Home Builders Registration Council. In short, it's called NHBRC. Busi has also served in other boards of other state entities. Inter Alia Bay World, that is in Kabeja, Gauteng Partnership Fund, an implementing agent of the Gauteng Human Settlements, responsible for other programs such as strategic urban renewal projects and those designed to promote participation of previous disadvantaged owned companies in the affordable rental market. A top 40 under 40 Nelson Mandela Business Chamber Young Achiever in 2013. She is also a recipient of the Women in Property Network, that is Business Woman of the Year in 2016 for the Western Cape region. One of her areas of interest and agenda that she is passionate about is the property development space, especially the transformation thereof. She is also a member of the South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners and has been tasked by the mother body to re-establish a chapter in the Eastern Cape, which she is currently sharing. She is currently the chairperson of the Social Housing Regulatory Authority, an interim council appointed by Cabinet in November 2021 for a minimum term of 3 years. That is Miss Busi Nzo, ladies and gentlemen. Sis Busi, welcome, my sister. Thank you so much for availing yourself. We are so looking forward to learn from you tonight, and feel free to express yourself here. Your people are so eager and excited to hear and to learn from you. Thank you so much, my sister. I'm so happy that you availed yourself tonight. Over to you, without wasting your time. Over to you, sis. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. I hope I'm audible. Can I just check on that?
Yeah, we can hear you, sis. Thank you.
Thank you. Greetings to you, Prof, the leadership gurus in the room and the scholars and everybody who is in attendance this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Prof, first let me thank you for the opportunity of having me here this evening. I am indeed humbled by the gesture. It is indeed an honor and a privilege for me, which I do not take for granted. I'm saying so because I'm still new in the space of leadership, where my influence has changed from a small scale within my network to a bigger scale, which is why I had been avoiding this moment for quite a while. To be a chairperson of a national government entity is no small feat, and it demands a great deal of time, and it is an opportunity I'm also grateful for. I'd like to also wish everybody in the room a a happy Africa Day. And I hope that the message of today is that, we need to give ourselves time and be open to learn something new about each other as fellow countrymen. And all we have to do is to stop, ask a question, listen, appreciate all the colorful backgrounds and the languages that we have that represent our rainbow nation. And in that lies our strength as leadership within the country that we're staying in. So a happy Africa Day to you. Prof, as a disclaimer, let me rather be upfront to say that I'm a scholar of leadership. And I'm happy that we recognize this as an option in these conversations. I can no way claim to be the leader. And in your own words, you have not missed to say almost every day when you open up these conversations that the leadership journey, and it's not a destination. And I am in that.
One sec.
Sorry,
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Sorry, I just need to switch this off. I don't
No
know
need to apologize.
Okay. So I'm in the journey, and having said that, I always seek to develop and empower myself, lest I become obsolete. These are always your opening words to these leadership conversations. And by that, I'm trying to say I'm far from claiming to have arrived. And it is in that background that I eventually accepted the call to this moment as a challenge to myself. And it is indeed a journey. In my LinkedIn bio, for those who probably might have checked, but for those benefit of those who haven't checked as well, I'm passionate about my career. I always seek to improve myself. I'm eager to always gain exposure in other fields that have an impact in the society that I live in. I am passionate to uplift those that are keen, to be a mentor to the younger generation. I am sharing this because it is part of my journey to where I am today, because I believe leadership, amongst many other things, requires passion, it requires determination, sense of responsibility, openness to engage, continuous introspection, and truthfulness, and many other things. My talk today is more in sharing my journey of leadership. I believe that when I can't give much of a contribution as a new phenomenon, I always share my story in the hope that it will inspire someone else. My development as a leader, I would say, starts with being the eldest child at home of 3 children, where I grew up having to be the one expected to understand the rules that were set in my household and the responsibilities thereof before my younger siblings were to take those rules. I had to understand the reasons for any lessons that were being taught, setting a precedence for my sister's behavior mirrored on mine. This expectation followed a growth process, having been the first to leave home to go to boarding school, far away from home, and having to learn the art of coping with being away from home. When my younger sister, who follows after me, left home 2 years later, I had mastered this skill of coping, which made it easier for her to transition and adapt to the same environment. For me, this was my first lesson of leadership. The growth process continued when I left high school to enter university, setting a trend for my sisters to follow suit, to fulfill not only an expectation or wishes of my parents, but also a personal dream of being somebody in society and at home, to not only charge on a trajectory of my parents, who not only did not have the opportunity, but were set back by many factors, but also to be an example to other children who grew up in rural areas as I had grown. Upon reaching university, I gave most of my energy to my studies. And for me, this is the second lesson that I want to share. I met a professor at university who happened to be the first female quantity surveyor in South Africa, by the name of Professor Gayle Leroux, who at the time was not only, as I said, was just a professor, but she was the first female quantity surveyor in South Africa. And with the choice that I had made to be mentored by her, which sometimes it meant that I subjected myself to the most challenging expectations that she had of me. One, as a Black female, and secondly, as a young, very young student at that time. I admired her wit and realized that to be a great leader myself, I needed to be led. So I allowed myself to be led by her, and I subjected myself to her leadership. This is what led to me taking up a leadership role as a student assistant to first-year students while I was doing my final year. Indeed, this bore fruit for me, as when during my first years of starting my working career, I was selected by the university to be a lecturer, to stand in for a lecturer who was not, I think she had been on maternity leave. But I was also selected to be a moderator for some of the subjects over the period of 3 years. This for me was proof that early behavior as a young leader made my past lecturers to have that much confidence in me. And for me, this is a third lesson for me in leadership. Whatever you do it with diligence. This trend continued for me as it has brought me to a state where I can safely say I was viewed as a leader in my age group that influenced the younger generation, not only of female quantity surveyors, but equally the male generation, to be the best in their chosen career field. I further enhanced this skill by taking up an opportunity that was presented to me to study leadership as a course in Barcelona at ES Business School. And against all odds of a young family, demanding work expectations and study costs, I did the course and finished it. In summary, all of the above, as starting from home to school, to tertiary level, to working career, have indeed honed my skills as a leader. I believe that the space that I'm currently in will challenge me further into developing myself as a leader. Further to this, in my career, I was, and still I am, a woman in an otherwise unfriendly male career society of technical men. This brought about a challenge that meant that I needed to prove myself and that I can do the work just as equal. This taught me not to focus on proving myself against anybody, but to focus on the work that needed to be done. And indeed, I can safely say, where I am today is because of the effort that I have put in and no other discounted advantage. I have taken this phenomenon and shared with those that came after me as an armor in their career lives. This being a trait of leadership. Now, I've used the lessons that are being presented. I mean, I note that it's important to use the lessons that are being presented to you as a ladder to climb higher, but not to look down on others, but rather as a motivation to yourself and others. I currently serve as a board chairperson of a national government entity, and it is an achievement I am very proud of. To get here, I have had to start from the bottom. I have had to serve on committees and boards without remuneration. I have had to serve under others and making sure that I contribute to every opportunity that is granted to me. Am I still audible? I see there's a problem with my internet connection. Can you still hear me, Prof? Okay. So I'm saying that those moments where I've subjected myself to serving under others, doing things in a way for free, has actually molded me into who I am today. And at moments I felt overwhelmed with the balance of time and no physical or monetary return. This has taught me the phenomenon of starting from the bottom through to the top, accepting that life is a learning process. Today, I am confident that I can lead because I have learned through the process. Now, I have had to at some point describe my leadership narrative because I think it is very important, especially when you serve in entities of government. And I would say that my leadership narrative is an ability to lead by example, to always have a sense of our self-awareness, self-leadership, which means taking responsibility for the outcomes of our actions and defining a direction of our lives and staying on top of our priorities. Some of my other great learnings are around the fact that it is a fact that certain life-changing events can throw you off balance. At the same time, these tough moments can also positively influence your leadership style if you allow yourself to work through the difficulties and think about the choices that you've made. So it requires a lot of conscious presence when you're being a leader. So I believe that as a leader, it is imperative to share these learnings when appropriate. You cannot be an emotionless leader. You have to have a heart and passion that shows authenticity and a vulnerability, which people can and do relate to. Reflection has therefore become one of the most important leadership tools for me that I have put in practice over the years as I live and learn every day. In the space that I'm in the space of human settlements, we need to understand that as leaders, we are guided not only by the heads, but the hearts, and we need to understand that change in the environment of human settlements is inevitable. The leadership of ourselves should realize that it is imperative that the teams that we work with are encouraged to consider the opportunities that could arise from the future landscape, and that out-of-the-box thinking is critical. Meaningful progress cannot come from government alone. It requires a collective buy-in of all stakeholders to drive change. I believe that one of the leadership dilemmas that we face now is how to navigate the future roadmap to ensure that the human settlement space and the legislation and processes that govern that are reviewed and are in place. Delivery must be achieved, but without forgetting that the basic needs of every man, woman, and child is at the core of what should be driving this change. As I conclude, Prof, I want to say that I am grateful for the opportunity to tell my story as I reflect on my own leadership journey and what the last few years in the dynamic human settlements sector of our country has taught me. I conclude with the words of Robert Dix, and I quote, sorry if you can just excuse me. I must have it. The future is ours to create, and your future is yours to create in a large degree. None of us have a crystal ball, but we don't need one. We have something better. We have a creative spirit. We have a dynamic urge to take matters into our own hands. We have imagination, discipline, and great possibilities. The good news is that we are given the raw materials to create a better life. I close quote. Thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you, thanks, thank you. Wow, thank you. I can see Professor Zita is clapping there and others are clapping as well. Thank you so much, my sister. You've really, how wonderful it is just to listen from someone speaking from the heart, because this is exactly what I'm saying here, that really just wonderful, you know. Put aside those big words, those theories, those what principles, those and all those things. Not that are not important, very important, but as leaders, sometimes, and I always say this, that it will be one. I know that I'm repeating it, but I know that I committed that we'll really try to write a book together as a platform, because we always do this. We wrote a book which was launched last year, Leaders in Leadership, which had a lot of different contributors, powerfully leaders, and there's a book that we are busy with now, which will launch. We'll announce the launch very soon. Women in Leadership. Again, so many contributors from this platform. So how wonderful it is that we could write a book, all of us together. I know, Dr. Sipepotela, we've discussed this before, that writing a book about leadership journey, where each and every one of us is just a chapter on your journey. You know, where are you from? How did you grow up? How did you enter? What happened? Just like what Sis Busi has done tonight. So I'm committing that, yes, obviously we are still busy with women in leadership now, but we'll be, I mean, it's finished at any given time, we'll be launching, or rather we'll be announcing the launch. But I will be very, very excited to this book. Sis Linda, I know there's so many people have contributed to our books where we'll talk about our leadership journey. So thanks, my sister. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, anyone would like to engage Sis Busi, or we can talk among ourselves. Remember that there's a load shedding. Before you are kicked out, please, let's talk. I see I see a comment there from one of my sisters that I respect a lot. Maybe I would like to hear you, my sister Nyami Mandinda. I know that you are our alumni here, or rather our past speaker here. What do you say about this leadership journey? Then after that, we'll pick up on Mr. Michael Tabane, and then Michael Tabane will be followed by Dr. Sipepotela in that order, please. But any thoughts there, Sis Nyami? Oh, Shem, no, can't talk now. I respect that, sis. Thank you so much. But just for you to be here, and also for that comment, thank you so much. So let's go straight to Mr. Michael Tabane. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you so much, Prof. Sis Busi, yeah, thank you so much. I wish I could clap hands and then like we were in a live audience and then I would be blowing the, like, you know, that vuvuzela horn that we normally blow in the stadiums, because that was like quite beautiful, you know, hearing your journey unscripted, like that was beautiful. So the question that I want to ask you is this, because I've seen this happening a lot of times with people when they rise, you know, like, you know, to the echelons of leadership in their respective industries. What I want to find out from you is that how has your journey of leader, or like as a leader and as an upcoming leader, affected your personal relationships? That's your family, your friends, and other people who are around you. Do you find yourself relating with them the same way, especially those who are refusing to grow and then to up their game in, you know, in becoming excellent people in whatever it is that they do? Or do you find yourself leaving them behind? You find them, you know what I mean? You can't walk a journey with someone if you are not walking the same pace. Like that's what I believe. And then, so I just want to know, like, how is that like affected you? Or do you find yourself being somebody who can't relate with normal people? Thank you.
Thank you for,
yeah,
yes,
go ahead, sis.
Thank you for that question. First, maybe let me just make a comment on Sis Nyami Mandindi there. Sis Nyami Mandindi is also a quantity surveyor, so she's someone that I look up to in my profession, and I know that she is aware we do relate every now and again, and we do, I think we both watching each other's journey throughout. Thank you, Sis Nyami, for that comment. Now, to come back to the current question, of course, the journey has changed the way I relate to some of my peers, because we do not grow in the same wavelength. Some have fallen by the wayside in the sense that I can no longer relate to them, but it doesn't mean that because I am in a higher position, I cannot relate to people, but it's just that it's kind of obvious that conversations will not necessarily gel, but it doesn't mean that I am no longer friends with people that I've been friends with. I have noted that over the years within my family and with some of my friends, I have commanded a certain level of a higher respect from them. but I do not let that get into my head. I am humbled by my background, where I come from, and I am humbled by the way that I was raised. And so that doesn't change much for me. Where I can influence people to make better decisions, where I can influence people to be better people, then I take the opportunity. I do not let it go away. So I do engage with people at the level that they come to me, at the frequency that they come to me, but I do not at any point think myself as being better. As I said when I started with the conversation, that I do not think for one moment that I have arrived. It is a journey. I am still at the beginning of the journey. So that is what it is for me. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thanks, Sis Busi. Thank you. We go now to Dr. Sipe Potela, and then I see also Dr. Sfiso Ngobo after Dr. Potela. Over to you, my leader. Dr. Potela. It seems like Dr. Potela is struggling with audio there. We'll come back to you, Dr. Potela. Let's go to Mapoloba. Dr. Sifiso Ngobo. Here is the guy that when we talk about journeys, I would really tell you about his leadership and academic journey. Like when I'm closing my eyes, so interesting. Mapoloba, over to you, my brother.
Prof. Majola, thank you very much. My sister, thank you very much for such an warm-hearting, actually, illustration. Especially, I like the part of taking responsibility and ensuring that those who come from your family are benefiting from your leadership process as well. You know, I normally say, before my actual question, I normally say, if you are skilled in a particular area within your family, whether you are an accountant, but your families are unable to manage their monies, you know, maybe we have not made inroads to lead those who are our siblings. My question is, one, in the content, like now that the human settlement space in the country, government has passed a policy now to say, in terms of the RDP houses, they will not build, but they will be able to allow people to build for themselves. In terms of spatial development and all those processes of integrated settlement, do you think that as government has really done sufficiently? I know houses have been built. I am talking of quality. The 4-room houses in Soweto are stronger, bigger than the current RDP houses, where people say they cannot even put a double bed in it. What happened? What went wrong there in terms of the leadership of those in decision making to agree to a certain square meters which are shrinking on people? Lastly, I just came from Mafikeng now, Delpat, houses which were built closer to the river because of the recent rains have flooded. Now, I asked myself to say, where was the municipality when the site were located? And these, I'm talking about RDP houses which were actually built, which are in a much more better condition. But the houses are flooded, people have been moved out. Is it a matter of leaders just building houses? to ensure that tender is issued out to friends as a way of getting something back? Or is it a matter maybe of people or municipalities not being well capacitated with skilled people who will be able to foresee to say, don't build 1 kilometer closer to the river? We're in a process of climate change now. If you can maybe guide there. And then lastly, what is a challenge of maybe South Africans, because what comes that people also are not valuing the houses that are being built. They say the house of RDP to build is 120,000, then they sell it to my friend for 20,000. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. Prof, I must say I do sometimes when I join these sessions, I do get quite I don't want to say I'm scared, but you know, when I see the doctors and the professors and everybody who is here, but I I appreciate the moment to be part of the conversation, because from it I can learn. Thanks for those questions, Dr. Ngobo. And much as I might not be able to answer them one by one, but to say that the space of human settlements is a very difficult space. There's issues of supply, there's issues of need, there's issues of policies, there's issue of quick decisions that need to be made. There's issues of the 3 spheres of government that operate at that level. And so sometimes you find that there is a disjuncture between all these 3 spheres of government. And also maybe not forgetting the end beneficiaries of these human settlement spaces. In trying to answer your question on the Mafikeng situation, where houses are built close to rivers, you know, there is a phenomenon where people move to places where they feel comfortable to stay in, whether those places are safe or not. But yes, I do agree that it is the responsibility of the local government at that particular level to give proper education to people. But there is also a sense of resistance from people when they have established themselves in certain areas and they would not want to move. Yes, I do agree that, and perhaps be the first one to say that government cannot agree to certain things or to everything that people just decide to do. But it is very unfortunate that some of these things have happened that way. In as far as the challenges of the size of the property itself, fortunately, I've been in the space of human settlements, as you would have heard when Professor Majola introduced me. I started off as a project manager. So it was at a very grassroots level where I started. And understanding at that time, the size of the house was a 40 square meter house, which is not necessarily very much different from what the previous regime house that we were offered. The size is not that much of a difference, but maybe the difference is a lot around the quality of the housing. But to say that people are claiming that these houses are too small and they cannot even fit a double bed or a single bed, I think those are the issues of you know, there's very few and far in between of those issues, and maybe that one we can point it to a quality issue. But government, I know that the commitment in that 40 square meter house has been a good quality house, which is very habitable. In the challenge of South Africans, when people decide to sell the houses to foreigners, not valuing the houses, you know, unfortunately, this is an issue of education amongst our people. Not to say that they lack education, but understanding what it means to own a property, what it means to have a title deed and the opportunities that are opened by you having a property that you can call your own and having a title deed, and the opportunities that it can open up for you in getting further in your life. So the issue is around a whole lot of issues that influence that. People are unemployed, so they, better off without a house because they know that they can build a shack somewhere else, which is also not a good thing. But I'm not saying that it's right, but unfortunately those are the circumstances. You will not believe what people are currently doing at the moment, where we have a phenomenon that is called shack farming. People sell their houses and then they go and build shacks somewhere else. And they continue to build maybe 5 shacks in an area, and they let these out to foreigners and they make money out of that. So the issue is really so much deeper than what we see, and it requires a deeper level of engagement than what we can discuss here tonight. So I hope I've have answered all those questions. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Mapoloba, for that question, because it has really assisted us to learn so much tonight. I mean, what Busi is saying, I mean, I think my colleagues will attest to this. So many of us, we don't know these challenges and these complexities and these dynamics in the human settlement space. It's more about why people are not given houses, why people are allowed to build there, why this, why this. There's so many whys, but it's very important to know what people are going through, and what I always say that, especially for us who are analysts, I know that we throw stones a lot, but it's important that we understand the dynamics, so that when we criticize, but at least we must have some informed information, so that when we criticize, we know exactly what is happening. But thank you so much. And that's why I love about this session, is this, yes, this element, this high degree of content and also of learning. I now see a hand. I'll take Aubrey Lisitsa, and then after that, I acknowledge Dr. Pat Mazibogo, and also I acknowledge my brother, the Andre Young. Let's start with you, Aubrey. Over to you, Aubrey.
Good evening. Can you hear me, Prof?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Go ahead. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mrs. Busi, for a very encouraging story. I think for people like myself who are considerably young, are very look up to people like you. So this is very, very encouraging. So I just want to ask, you did mention in the beginning that you are in a very male-dominated industry, and just from that, I just wanted to ask you: do you feel like there's been any progress in trying to bridge the gap between the number of people who are in the industry, especially in terms of the ratio where there's so many number of men comparing to the female in the industry? Do you feel like there's anything at the moment that's been done to try to change that outlook? And if there is anything, or if there is nothing at the moment, do you feel that there is anything that can be done to try and change things at the moment? And also, just on a different note, you also did mention about your interest in property and development. Is there anything, this is more just like asking for personal reasons, is there any sort of information or any sort of I don't know how to put it, just sort of information that you can refer me to learn more about, the property industry and becoming involved. Those are my questions. Thank you so much.
Okay. Can I go, Prof? Okay. Thank you for those questions, Aubrey. Yes, the industry that I'm in is still a very male-dominated industry. One of the things that we South Africans are known about is that we have very good policies. But one of the issues that we have is that we never implement our policies. Asking the question around whether I feel that something has been done or whether there has been progress. We are quite involved in conversations around transformation. And the unfortunate thing is that we talk about things for a very long time before we implement them. Yes, the conversations are there. And yes, if we can put those into practice, I have no doubt that the industry makeup would change. Yes, very good strides have been made. I mean, I attended a session, 2 sessions actually, around women in construction that were giving feedback to the Minister of Human Settlements in terms of their involvement in the industry. They've got very good stories to tell. Yes, and in that light, yes, there has been movement. But and there's also commitment from those in power to change the situation. But if we can put those policies that we have in place and those papers that we have written around the transformation of the industry, in as far as women are concerned, it would make much more of a difference. And then in your question around the property sector, I'm not sure what industry you are in, but I also happened to be, when Professor Majola was introducing me, I happened to be a member of what we call a South African Institute of Black Property Practitioners. That is an institute of like-minded people who are interested in property. Some are developers, some are consultants in the space, some are investors, some are financing institutions, but around Black people. So it is an organization that I would encourage anybody to join, because there's also education around it. There's also advocacy where we engage with the government in terms of what we think government can do better to make sure that the industry itself is transformed. So there's so many lessons to be learned within that space. But we can take the conversation outside the room today. I can forward the details on the chat group so that we can then keep in touch. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sis Busi. Before I take Dr. Mazibuko, Dr. Potela has been having a challenge with the microphone, but here is his question, Sis Busi, that is coming from Dr. Potela. He's saying, obviously, he's apologizing for the microphone issue. I'm touched by journey of Sis Busi. My question is, what's wrong with our civil engineering and construction road that easily washed away? In your life journey, what sacrifice have done to guide and place you where you are? Lastly, who is your mentor and which leadership book current enlightened and give you confidence every day you reach podium? Wow, that's a question, Sis Busi, from Dr. Patel.
Thank you, Prof. I must say I was not ready for that last part of the question. But to answer some of the questions, I'm also looking on the chat. the first question is, what is wrong with our civil engineering and construction of roads that easily wash away? I cannot claim to know the reasons why certain things happen and why certain things fail. But I do want to say that our industry, as much as I think the entire country, we've seen in so many different industries that is marred by corruption. People want to get money out of doing less. So it is a combination of things, I think. It is a combination of people deliberately sacrificing on quality to get more money, number one. And number two, it is also, I wouldn't say that we do not have skills as South Africans, especially in the civil engineering sector. I think that we do have good civil engineers. But the difference between the planning of things and putting those things into practice. I mean, planning projects and actually doing the projects. I think there is something wrong there as well. We don't put much planning into the work that we do, and so this is the reason why some of these things fail. But to a large extent, I think it is a matter of people wanting to get more out of doing less. In the second question is, in your life journey, what sacrifice have you done to guide and place you where you are? I think in my address, I've alluded to the fact that I've allowed myself to be led. Without giving names, but before I served on this board of Social Housing Regulatory Authority, I was the deputy chairperson of that board. And we were led by one of our great politicians who would not have enough time sometimes for the board. And I would find myself in a situation where I have to save a situation. I have to suddenly chair a meeting. And I think those are some of the sacrifices that I have done, because I have not said no because I am not supposed to be there, but I've taken those opportunities in my stride, and I've used such opportunities. So I've remained humbled over the process. And as I'm saying, I have allowed myself to be led by those who were before me. And lastly, who is your mentor? I'm finding mentors everywhere I go. I'm finding mentors in even some of the people that are my juniors, depending on what different things that people can offer. I'm finding mentors in even the people that I'm actually supposed to be leading. If I may, the current Minister of Human Settlements at the moment, Minister Madmuloko Kubai, I find her to be a good mentor for me. The reason why I'm saying that is that she has given herself enough time to understand the space that she is operating in. And she is very present in the space. And I think it's very important as a leader to be one with those that you are supposed to be working with, and not actually elevate yourself that you cannot be reachable. So that for me is a very good trait for a leader. And I find that to be very encouraging for me. In terms of the book, there's no book that I'm currently reading. Unfortunately, I'm busy with my studies at the moment. So I'm not reading any books, sorry. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, but at least you are reading. I mean, you are reading those stack of notes.
Yes.
Thanks, Ms. Busi. Thank you very much. Okay, now we go to my brother, the Dr. Pat Mazibuko. Over to you, Doc. Unmute, Doc. Can you unmute Dr. Mazwe? We can't hear you. No, we can't. We still can't hear you, Doc. I can see that you are unmuted. I don't know whether it's a volume or what's happening. Just try to check your volume there, Dr. Mazwe. No, not yet, Doc. While we are trying to check that, we'll come. No, we want to hear you. We want to hear you, Doc. Please try to check what's happening with your audio, and then let's go to Mr. Andrew Young. Mr. Young, over to you.
Good evening, Prof. Mazwe. Good evening, Busi. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed listening to you this evening. I have a question that I want to hopefully get your thinking partnership on. One of the things we can see is that providing housing in our country is a huge economic opportunity, purely on the basis that there's so many people that need houses. What I'm trying to get my head around as a businessman and as a South African, leading into my conversation tomorrow on citizen conversations, which I posted in the group, with the scarcity of housing being what it is, what are the key systemic issues that you think should be addressed to add trust to the scarce system so that we might create an abundance of housing with the right price sensitive context for the country? And I don't know if that makes sense. I'm trying to figure out where are the three things we need to focus to really change the scarcity of housing so we can add trust to the scarce system to make it an abundance. I leave it there.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Young. I think, one of the things that we have been talking, okay, first of all, I think we need to address the issue where people sit and wait on government to do things for them. That's number one. Number two, I think that it's important that, where I am at the Social Housing Regulatory Authority is that we are providing a product that is not necessarily suitable for someone who qualifies for an RDP house, but someone who is in a better position to pay a certain amount of rent, whilst at the same time they cannot get a bond from the bank, right? So I think we need to reinforce on those differences and to actually analyze our population in terms of where they are in that space. And where we feel that people, those that are working that need accommodation, they can be accommodated. And I think that the third thing that we need to look into is the fact that we've been talking about alternative building technologies or alternative building materials in the industry. But yet, as I've said, similar to what I've said before, in as far as the policies, we have these good policies in place. We've got papers that are good, that can be implementable. But addressing the issue of alternative building technology and actually trying to shift the mind of people in believing that the only structure that is sound is a structure built of brick and mortar. We have seen these things happen in other countries. We have seen alternative building technologies sustainable as probably a house built out of a brick and mortar. So those are some of the things that we need to get out of. That's the zone that we need to get out of in as far as alternative building materials or alternative building technology, so that we can then be able to provide more with what we have, or more to actually address the demand that is out there versus the supply. So I think those are some of the phenomena that we need to look into. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Busi. I like that really alternative building technology, because I don't know, in South Africa, we are so fixated with this brick and mortar. It seems like if it's not a brick and mortar, it's not a house, you know, and you travel all over the world. You go to US, you go to UK, you go to China, India, and other areas, you see that there are other alternatives of houses other than the what to call the brick and mortar. So, I mean, that's wonderful to hear that. I see now that Dr. Mazibuko is back. Over to you, Doc. Oh no, try again, Doc. What is happening today? Oh, shame. I don't know what is happening today. We always hear you every day. So I wonder why we can't hear you today. And Dr. Potelo is talking about being managed by the audio or microphone. So are you still struggling there, Dr. Mazibuko? Yeah, you can see the frustration.
Maybe you can write on the chat.
Yeah, if it's possible, Doc, just maybe a few pointers on the chat. Sorry about that, but thank you very much. We know that we always hear from you. Dr. Sifuko Ramshova from Nelson Mandela University. We've got Sis Busi Nzo here, and then she's from Nelson Mandela University as well. Dr. Sifuko? Are you coming, Dr. Sifuko? Seems like also we can't get hold to Dr. Sifuko. So I don't know whether when there is a load shedding, it also affects, obviously we know that load shedding affects many things. And who's that now? Was someone coming? Dr. Sifuko, are you coming?
I think it was me, Prof.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes
Okay.
with the load shedding, it affects the network as well.
Yes, absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can see that we have lost so many people already, as we did say. Obvious in other areas, load shedding is starting at 6, others at 7. But with this load shedding, especially starting at 6 or starting at 5 in the afternoon, will really affect us greatly in our sessions until we are done with load shedding. But I mean, at least we are soldiering on, and then we are learning a lot tonight. I see a hand there from Mazibuko as well. I don't know if he already wants to try. Dr. Mazibuko. Or maybe it was an old hand that he had. So he keeps on raising his hand. Dr. Mazibuko, are you raising your hand again, or you want to try? No, we can't get him. Sis Busi, your parting shot, sis, in terms of lesson learned, your leadership journey, property, or before your closing remarks, my brother Andre, can you tell us about what you sent to me? Is it about what's happening tomorrow?
I'm happy to share. I think a number of us across the country are keen to have the dialogue from the citizen contribute to the discourse around how we can create economic growth. And I'm particularly interested to listen to Busi today because in the areas where we are suffering scarcity in our country, housing, transportation, electricity supply, water supply, connectivity supply, all the natural life-giving, economy-growing resources, we're asking citizens to come to the table, and Bonang, Adam, hosted by Konasa, are having the citizen conversation tomorrow under the Partner for Partnership, Partners for Possibility Partnership for South Africa. And as an ex-partner for Possibilities who partnered with the principal to try to solve a school, we're now having a national discussion. And that webinar tomorrow is saying, and Busi, if you've got the time, I'd really appreciate you coming there because the insights you shared today were so beautiful. But I think we can see what the dominoes are that must fall 1, 2, 3, as Busi gave it to us today, that'll create economic growth led by the citizen. I love what she said. We must stop waiting for the government. We didn't wait for the government during apartheid. When I grew up, we created the change. And now that transformation of society, to install trust in our transformation, is what we're having a conversation about tomorrow. And hence, I'm very keen to see that there's so many doctors here, yourself especially, Mazwe. Come, let's contribute to the discourse and maybe some good ideas as to how we can kickstart this country of ours. You know, we're pushing a car that's stalled. We must push it and get it going. So hence the invitation to everybody to join. And I thank you for letting me allow my voice in the room today.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you. You know, it's so difficult to be like us because you get to be question so many things. I'm sure you've seen about the debate between Mweleti Mbeki and the president about the leadership's issue. And then today, some of us were so busy being interviewed about this thing. What do we say about that? But obviously, we live in an interesting days and then very complex, and there's so many things that are happening around leadership. Let's see, before Busi gives us a parting shot, I see something there from Dr. Mazibogo. So Dr. Mazibogo is saying, thank you for opening a window into your leadership journey, Sis Busi. My question is as follows. What has been the most taxing experience in your leadership journey, and what life lessons have you derived from that? That is we'll take that as the last question, Sis Busi, as you answer it, and then after that you can just give us your parting shots, and then I'll close the session after that. I'm so sorry, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, obviously we normally allow our sessions to go longer, but I mean, I'm very concerned about losing people in that this load shedding thing. So over to you, Sis Busi.
Prof, thank you for that question. Was it Prof Mazibuko or Dr. Mazibuko? You know, what I find most taxing in my experience in my leadership journey is that we are unfortunately living in a world or in a country that is marred by an influence, a high influence from our government. And having said that, even that is not, you know, if you look at the ethics around the space that we operate in our businesses, in our different businesses, in our different industries, for me, that has been the most taxing experience, that we even if you want to do good sometimes, the situation does not allow that. But what I've learned as a lesson from that is to stand my ground in terms of my moral integrity and not move from that. Because I don't want to see myself one day having to answer to some commission a few years down the line. But I want to say that that is a lesson that I've learned, that you need to remain humble. You need to be ethical at all times, and the decisions that you make must be decisions that you can stand for in court as well, irrespective of where the influences are coming from. So that is a lesson for me. And as I consider my parting shot, Prof, it's also around the issue that I've just alluded to, in as far as where we are as a country. We are at a crossroads as a country, whether we like it or not. But that's where we are. And my wish as leaders is that we remain authentic to leadership, and we consider and think hard about the legacy that we're going to leave behind. The change that, if we stand for what we believe is right, the impact that it can have in the hearts of every human being in our country, and the quality of life that it can have to change the trajectory of our country. And it cannot be underestimated. And I hope that as a leadership collective, we will one day look back on this period in time and be proud of the work that we do, and be proud of the changes that we've brought, and be proud of the conversations that we have, hoping that the conversations that we're having are true and we mean what we say. So as I'm saying good night to everyone, I want to say, I will therefore continue, me as myself, Busi, to continue to tell my story, to empower my team, and to empower those that I work with to serve my community with the greatest integrity. And I believe that with every discussion that we have here and every step that we take, I will have done a bit, my bit along the way. And I believe that, the little influence that one can have can make a change along the way. Thank you, Prof.
Wow, thank you. Thanks, Ms. Busi. Thank you so much for empowering us tonight. Thank you so much. You may not be aware, but we've learned so much from you. I mean, really, and my colleagues, that that's also the members of this platform, that's exactly what I always say, that coming here, we always learn from each other. There's no way you'll attend this session and not learning something. We know that is why you see so many professors, doctors, great leaders. People I respect and admire the most. They keep on coming every Wednesday. We are together because we have realized that we learn so much from each other. We're coming from different sectors, we're coming from different backgrounds, and then by sharing information and knowledge, and then we really help each other to understand, and even to get some perspectives, because we talk and talk and talk. As I've said, there's so many things that Busi said tonight, things that have really opened our eyes, especially in the human settlements and property building industry that we didn't know. So thank you so much, my sister, for availing yourself. And we thank God that your area was not affected by by load shedding, unless you juggled around. Maybe instead of being somewhere else, you went somewhere else. Whatever happened, we thank you so much for your sacrifice and for availing yourself. As we are saying, that really we've learned so much from you. Unfortunately, that it coincided with a load shedding day, but those of us who were here, we learned so much. And please, if you'd like to, any one of you, if you'd like to have a recording, we'd be glad to share with you, so that we really keep on learning from each other. So, ladies and gentlemen, to everyone, thank you so much. Before you are kicked out, I can see that we are losing numbers before. We are in the dark. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Those who are here for the first time, please do join us again next week. We meet every Wednesdays at 6 p.m. We've got a powerful speaker again next week, as we always do. Mr. Young, thank you so much for the invite. Ladies and gentlemen, please do share the invite and try to make some effort to attend the invites. We'll also share it into our leadership think tank. By the way, we've got a Facebook a page. It's called Leadership Think Tank. That is where we continue our discussions, and we find all sorts of leaders that are there, from government, from business, scholars. So please do, you can join us if you have not joined us, anyone. It's just go to the Facebook and then you search for Leadership Think Tank, and then you can join us. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll meet again next week, Wednesday, and God bless you. And thank you for a wonderful session, as we always do. And thank you to Sis Busi once more. The session is now adjourned until next week. Thank you, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sis Busi.